Welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am blessed and honored to be with you today, Tuesday, June 30th. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day out there. We've got a great guest today, but before we get to it, I want to plug the book of the month for June. We do have our book club coming up on Thursday, July 2nd. The book is called White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism. And yes, it is. If you need the book, you can order from Janet Webster Jones, Source Booksellers, Detroit, 313-832-1155. Call her or her daughter, Allison. They are wonderful people. Support your independent local bookstores. And I look forward to having this conversation with some really wonderful people, very courageous people on Thursday. So thanks so much for tuning into that. I want to go ahead and bring out our guest for today. Hopefully people are tuning in. Give people a moment here. Bringing out our guest here, Don Hindman, President and COO of Johnson Storage and Moving. How are you, Don?
I'm great, Ben. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. It's always a pleasure getting to speak to wonderful people, and I have the honor of doing that every single day. So I'm kind of blessed.
You do a great job, and I'm very honored to be on your show in such great company with people like Chuck White and Bill Grable and Mary Beth Knights and so many other great guests. And you do a great job promoting the industry. So thank you.
I appreciate that, Don. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that people even want to come on here sometimes. You know, sometimes I'm blown away. I'm like, I got Don Hindman coming on Tuesday. All right. Hey, all right. You know, I feel good about this. I'm doing something right, you know.
I was warned that you tend to haze your guests a little bit and make fun of them. I'm right. So, you know, come on.
We'll see. I got to wait for the inspiration. I don't just haze wantonly.
Yeah, let's see. I'm disappointed that I didn't get to be your Cinco de Mayo guest with the sombrero and the tequila. That would have been a little bit more my, my speed.
Yeah, well, you know, we can always do it next year. What Don's referring to, if you didn't catch it, is we did a fundraiser for Move for Hunger. We raised $5,160, and a big part of that was Don's company, Johnson's, actually donating. I want to say it was like $500 or something. It was a really nice gift, and it went to a great cause. So thank you, Don, and thank you, Lisa Baranich, for doing that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Let's see here. We got some folks checking in here. We got Mario Cunningham. Hey, what's going on? Hey, Mario. How you doing? Jamie Masser. Hi, Ben and Don. Cheers from blazing hot Mississippi.
Yeah.
All right, Jamie. Libby. Hey, Ben and Don.
No, Libby.
Hey, Libby.
Paid Libby to be here.
You're paying them all to be here. Lynn Ripley ordered from them and received my book today. Great recommendation and fantastic service. Oh, Lynn, that's great. I'm so happy to hear you had a good experience with Source Booksellers. Wonderful people. Lisa Thomas. Hi, Ben and Don. Hey, Lisa. Lynn Griffiths. Hi, Ben and Don. These people saying hello to you. Francine Dresty. Hello from stormy St. Louis. Francine will be on the show on Thursday talking about the book. Richard Beatty. Hello from Denver. LinkedIn user. Did someone say tequila? No one said tequila. We are respectable transportation executives. We are not drinking tequila on a Tuesday. It's only 2:00 where Don is. I mean, come on, people. There you go. Blanco. There you go. Elena Anderson DeLay. Greetings, Ben and Don from Hot, Maryland. Georgia Angle. Looking forward to this. Hey, Elena. Hey, Georgia. Libby Blank. Go Johnson. Jane Woolston. Hi, Ben and Don from Double Oak, Texas. Hey, Jane. Appreciate you giving those recommendations for guests. Appreciate you being on the show, Jane. Tracy Gunn. Hi from Arizona. Sylvia Rivas. Shears from Medellin, Colombia. Look at us. Look, we're getting international. Lisa Baranich. Hi, Ben and Don. Thanks for all you do. Lisa's been a friend for a while. That's really neat. Kathleen Allwine. Greetings from Kathleen to Shoreview. We're going to keep checking in here. We're almost done. Stacy Ho. Hi from Pittsburgh. Looking forward to discussion, Ben and Don. Eric Scorzelli. Greetings from Woodstock, New York, gentlemen. Eric's always trying to sell a box on Love and Relo. Appreciate you, Eric. Appreciate you. Gary Grunt, since when did Ben become an executive?
Good question.
Touche, Gary. Touche, Gary. Oh, gosh. Gary, the only person with a headshot older than mine in the biz. I appreciate you, Gary. Hosea Botley, hello, guys, from Seattle. And Jennifer Anderson, hi, Ben and Don, checking in from sunny Long Island, looking forward to the conversation. Hey, yeah, that is right. It is a conversation. So go ahead and leave your questions, your comments in the comments. Let's go ahead and give Don an applause button. Hit that green button or the heart for him. Yeah, there you go. And Scorzelli says you want to buy a box. There you go. Appreciate it. There you go. Love Eric. Yeah, man. So Don, when we were talking before about coming on, what a wild year this has been, huh?
Oh, 2020 is the year that needs to start over or just be done.
Can you recall a wilder year than this, Don?
2008 was not dull in business. The Great Recession, but this was even weirder because it came on so fast, right? I mean, we went from 3.5% unemployment to 20% in about a week. So that's kind of crazy. Yeah.
And so, when I look back and I always like to kind of look at history, to kind of get more it kind of chills me out a little bit. Cause I think if you just watch the news cycle, you can be kind of all over the place. But when you look at history, you realize kind of that the blips, they seem a little more measured. So let's go back to kind of the beginning. So tell me a little bit about Johnson's and how you were formed. You're celebrating a big anniversary this year. Tell us a little bit about the formation.
Yeah, so we literally just celebrated our 120th anniversary. We're the oldest privately held company in Denver, Colorado. And the company started in a blacksmith shop. So Ben, you were saying earlier, some movers start selling ice. Some of them are furniture guys that evolve into relocation. So the Johnson family started with a blacksmith shop in downtown Denver literally in a barn. And Will Johnson, who is first generation, we're on generation number 4 now, realized one day on Broadway in Denver, as these cars drove down the street, that maybe this whole blacksmith thing wasn't really cut out for the future. So he decided to start draying shipments down to the rail yard, which is how people moved back then. And so he had a bunch of horses, and it was pretty good because you could get 2 men and a horse for $1.50 an hour. If you wanted 2 men in a truck, it was $1.75. So you got a discount for the horse. That's good. And horses are pretty reasonable. And Will said to his sons when they took over the business, the great thing I had was if times got really hard, we could always eat the horses. So, yeah. Well, anyway, so my partner Mark Johnson and I own the business together, and he's 4th generation, which is unusual. Most multi-generation companies explode in generation 2 or 3, and we're really fortunate to have good leadership, and the company has prospered. So we just a lot of heritage, a lot of history here, Ben.
So you go back to the blacksmith, right? And I think that's so great, that story, because that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Somebody's sitting in a blacksmith shop and they see the world around them evolving. And us talking about the blacksmith moving to the drayage, it's not a very scary story. But at the time, it was probably terrifying because that person's cheese was moving, to use the old business analogy, right? And so they made a decision. There was a gut check moment, I'm sure. And they said, you know what, I needed to do something different if I'm going to continue to feed my family and sustain. And they shifted into to draying cars down to the river, I think you said. So over the years, have you seen other kind of iterations like that, or inflection points or changes in the business and growth?
Yeah, so it's kind of a long story, but we've executed a pivot like many moving and storage operators these days, and we've diversified like crazy. So there are so many great operators in our business, and some of them are really single focused and just focus on national accounts or RMCs or whatever the line of business is. We've chosen to try and spread out and diversify both geographically and in terms of lines of service. And so we've started a healthcare business and a electronics business and a trade show business, and really kind of a full service logistics, moving and storage bundle. So in times like these, I'm kind of grateful that we did that, because a lot of our business lines went dark in April, as you can imagine. And so we had a number of different businesses to fall back on. So it's been reassuring, that's for sure.
So when you're diversified like that, do you see other areas of the business, I guess tick up, and if so, I mean, of those, let me ask it this way. Let me ask a two-part question. Pre-COVID business lines that you had, and you mentioned trade show, you mentioned a few there, logistics, things like that. Did any of them do well or tick up due to COVID, or was it just a matter of like treading water a little bit?
No, so the one that obviously, and this is perfectly logical and makes sense, the business unit of ours that really took off was healthcare. And so we have a medical supply distribution and assembly business that installs and assembles hospital beds for Hill-Rom and Stryker and all these manufacturers of medical equipment. And so we got pulled really quickly, like March 15th, quickly, pivoting to healthcare and emergency supply chain relief. So I got dragged onto the governor's council for emergency supply chain management in Denver. And literally we got caught flat-footed like most states. We didn't have enough PPE. We didn't have enough makeshift hospitals. They were freaking out about ventilators. And so we just kind of dived in because our other business lines were slow. We had a lot of excess capacity. We needed to keep people employed under this PPP. And so our solution was to really dive headfirst into healthcare and medical equipment. So we leveraged our relationships with some of our national accounts on the household side. So people like Kindred Health or UC Health or Centura, and we reached over into their facility side and really dived into helping them build these makeshift hospitals and distributing ventilators. So it was interesting. It all happened really fast.
Yeah, tell me about the really fast thing, because I remember, and in a way, this has an element kind of like 9/11, where I feel like you kind of remember where you were when it got real. When this got real, when it went from being kind of a joke to being like, holy crap. I mean, I was saying to somebody, it was just went from being a punchline to be a gut punch in like 2 days. I remember somebody was asking me, hey, do you think you're going to travel? You think you might postpone some business trips? I was like, oh, whatever, and then the whole world fell apart. And I was actually in Chicago at a sales conference, and every day we'd wake up and go to breakfast, and the NBA's canceled, the NHL's canceled,
right.
March Madness is canceled, and you're like, you can't cancel March Madness. I mean, that was the moment for me that I was like, this is forever changing us. And what was it like being on the service provider side from healthcare? When did it get real for you? What was that timeline like? Put us in your shoes there for that week or two.
So I'll tell you, we got a call from one of our customers saying that they were going to convert the Javits Center in New York into a makeshift hospital. And that was about March 20th. And I remember thinking to myself, because I've been to the Javits Center, like
me too.
You probably have. Yep. You've walked the floor at the Javits Center, but you've been to these trade shows. And then all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my God, they're going to turn this into a hospital. And that's the moment for me. And we were lucky enough to actually secure some business out there, helping again build hospital beds at the Javits Center. Really freaky. And then we did it here in Denver and up in northern Colorado. And I'll tell you, it was really morbid building out these field hospital, makeshift hospitals, and thinking about how awful the specter of possibly needing those is. Now, fortunately, we didn't need them here in Colorado, and I don't think they used the Javits Center for very long. But that's when it got real. Yeah,
and then so what happens first? You get pulled onto the governor's emergency supply chain council, or what was like the first move? And then how did you get into that business? Because I mean, I think we're all sitting back here, in the moving industry, right? And we're like, we're essential workers, but there's no business. And we're like, okay, we got manpower, we've got trucks, we have an inclination to want to help, we've got payroll, we got to meet. How do we get plugged in? So how did you get plugged into that community?
So we were really fortunate because, half our business went dark. I mean, we were down in April and the beginning of May, we were off 40%. The military, the DOD went completely dark with their stop order. And so it was really scary because like all of us professionals in this industry, I think there was so much uncertainty and fear about, how long is this going to last? Is this a 2-month thing? Is it 3 months? What is this? What's it mean to my family? And so fortunately, I got recruited onto this council with the governor and got dialed into a network of people in Colorado that were banding together, kind of leaders of industry banding together to try and make sure that the supply chain was there, that we had all the right communication equipment, that we had infrastructure, and that we could muster the PPE and ventilators required. So it was kind of full court press. I spent basically the last 2 weeks of March on conference calls with the governor's staff and making sure. And then again, we dived into healthcare. We were already in healthcare on the national account side. So we had good relationships with, the physician recruiters and with the people at the healthcare systems that were doing relocation. We've been doing that work for a long time. And so all we did was pivot over to their facilities people. They were good enough to introduce us to their facilities team. And then we lended a hand in the hospitals, even in COVID units, moving equipment around and reconfiguring hospitals and putting additional beds in the hallways. And so that initiative lasted about 60 days, and it's still going on.
What's that like, putting your people in a hospital, right? When their day-to-day is normally moving John Doe and Jane Doe down the street, what's that like saying, okay, boys and girls, we're going into this hospital, and I mean, even having that conversation and the unknowns, I mean, what's that like?
Yeah, so it was scary. And so obviously our first concern was the health and safety of our crew members and our colleagues. And so I'll never forget, again, end of March, you couldn't get a mask. Masks were gone. They were on like allocation, and these N95 masks were just nowhere to be found. So one of our import-export guys out of Miami, Ayal Shaney, found a source in China, and we air freighted about 10 cases of these N95s for our crew members, and ended up paying $10,000 for these masks. But we had them, and we were outfitted to work in healthcare facilities and keep our people safe. And then we invested quite a bit in obviously surgical gloves and gowns and hazmat and a lot of disinfectant, obviously. So all that stuff was really hard to come by at the beginning, but we scrambled and did it.
And so there's a few folks checking in here. Molly Feldman says thunder and lightning here in Jacksonville. I'm assuming that's not a nickname that, inside joke you and her have from back in the day.
14.
Okay, yeah, shake and bake. And then Michael Quigley, who's always looking for some new business. Tequila says hello from Silicon Valley. So Mike's a sales guy. I'm a sales guy, right? I mean, what advice do you give to moving companies that are out there, obviously not in the Denver market, who want to plug into the healthcare business and get some work for their people and start to kind of, really, get into a new viable line?
So we, I'll give up one of my big secrets here. This is double top secret.
Please.
We do a lot of work for nonprofits, and
okay.
So we started a charitable foundation called Johnson Cares, and what we do is we support our nonprofit customers with a 5% donation to their foundation. So all these healthcare systems and higher education institutions have foundations of their own that are alumni charitable foundations, and they really appreciate that we're willing to support them as they support us with their business. So we build that into our cost of goods, and we donate that back to them at the end of the year. And that's helped us land some big healthcare systems and big universities where we're able to do this kind of plant work. We're able to do the physician relocation work, but we're also able to break into the facility side and get into procurement. So you really have to navigate through procurement. If you're already in on the RMC side, it's fairly easy to get an introduction to facilities. They're very siloed, so they're completely separate. So it's a totally different sale. But if you got good relationships on the household goods side, they will frequently introduce you to procurement, who will then flip you over to facilities. So that's what we've done.
Well, that's spectacular advice. I appreciate you sharing that with us there, Don. I want to kind of pivot the conversation real quick and well, first I want to ask everybody that's watching, because we got a ton of people watching on LinkedIn. We got 37 people on LinkedIn, got 16 people on Facebook watching right now. If you please go ahead and leave a like, give a thumbs up to Don. We're giving trade secrets away. Give the guy at least a little like there. And then the other thing is I want to ask you all to leave some questions and some comments. This show is really a dialogue, so I'd love to hear what you're thinking out there. You get an opportunity to ask a big old head honcho like Don Hindman over here for insight.
Ben, this is our head honcho right here.
So that's the head honcho?
This is our head honcho. This is Rocky the bear. He was named after the Rocky Mountains. He's our mascot.
Nice.
All the shots, and it's all about the bear here at Johnson's. So there you go.
I see the bear on the trucks and on the material and stuff. I think I've got a bear on my press release right here. So tell me the story. Tell me the story of the bear real quick. Where did Rocky come from?
So we had a sort of a focus group market research type thing commissioned back in the 80s. And I think things were a little different back then, but back then frequently it was the housewife or the woman who made the decision about the mover. And we asked a focus group of people and said, what might be the most important possession that really takes place during the move that you just absolutely can't afford to be without or lose. And they all kind of resoundingly said, well, it could be my kid's teddy bear. And so we realized that for whatever reason, the teddy bear kind of resonates with people that are moving. We give away these to a lot of transferees and their kids. And for whatever reason, it seems like calming. Frequently, it ends up in the mouth of the dog. They become So in my house, we have 2 dogs. We got about 50 of these things shredded on the floor. Oh my gosh.
People are loving the bear. Georgia says, I love Rocky. I have several.
Okay, good.
Let's see here. Chandra says, I love the Johnson's bear, 120 years old. Laura is saying, thanks for the Javits Center. Yeah, I remember going to the Javits Center when I was a kid back in the 80s, and I saw my first Lamborghini Countach there. My stepfather took me down there. I grew up in White Plains, New York. And so he was a car guy, and he took me down to the Javits Center and to the New York Auto Show. And we saw all the cars and everything. And so thanks for the service there on that, Don. Jennifer Anderson says, great way to give back. Yeah, I think so too. That's a fantastic. I love that. I think anytime you can do any kind of any kind of a program that aligns you with your clients, that makes them feel good for spending money with you. I'm a big fan of voting with my dollars, right? I realize I have an opportunity with this money, whether it's my company's money or whether it's my personal money, to vote with my dollars and say, I want to patronize this company, this cause, whatever. And I think people are getting more and more conscious. Have you seen that with consumer behavior, with B2B behavior? To talk a little bit about that.
So this foundation that we call Johnson Cares has really gotten traction with lots of different nonprofits. So most recently, we started an art shipping business, and it's called J Art. And we do climate controlled art shipping and storage and assembly installation all over the country. So we've started to donate a percentage of our net revenue back to these art galleries and art museums. So we just did a museum move in New Mexico. We moved $1 million art collection from Kerrville, Texas to Santa Fe, and really cool move. It was really exciting to do it. And then we cut a check back to the foundation for $10,000, and they were just floored. They didn't expect it, I just think it really makes people appreciate what we do as movers, and that we were willing to give back. So I wish, Ben, you don't have footage of that truck pull, do you?
Of the truck pull for Easter Seals?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't.
So that's this truck pull has been a charity initiative that we started 6 years ago. And we raise about 20 grand a year for charity, and it goes to Easter Seals and this educational foundation. And it's hilarious. These people have a couple beers and try and pull these semi trucks. And it's really fun. So that if you're not doing a truck pull, in your company out there, I highly recommend it. It's a great time, and it's a great way to raise money for charity.
And it's really cool because everybody in the community comes out and watches your truck get pulled down the street, and there's it's a great team building. It's a great community outreach thing. It's cool marketing. I mean, it just checks all the boxes, I think.
Yeah. So we had a firefighter team that was made up of huge dudes that are firefighters in Denver. And then we had a couple of realtor teams. We had Miss Colorado on board. That was fun. And so it's just a really great kind of bonding thing. And then we actually have the Easter Seals clients clean our buildings. So they do janitorial service. They're high functioning autistic folks, and we pay them and employ them to provide light janitorial service for our company. And it's so cool to see the way that they bond with our employees and the way that our employees react to our charitable effort. So it's good.
Don, I'm really impressed with how involved you are in the corporate sustainability initiatives for your company. Really impressed. I mean, I know a lot of leaders of moving companies out there, and I don't know a ton of them who personally get involved. A lot of times it gets delegated or something like that. But it seems like you're pretty personally involved. Where does that come from with you, Don?
So this is getting a little deep here, Ben. So go with me.
That's what we do, Don. It's love and relo, man. It ain't just like plug the mover. Come on now.
This is upside. So I'm a big believer in karma, right? And I believe this is going way deep on you. So
let's do it.
People are like dogs, and when you've seen, we have 2 dogs. So when you see dogs meet other dogs, they kind of go up and they sniff around, and the tail wags or the tail doesn't wag. And those dogs are pretty good at sensing whether they're meeting a friendly dog, a nice dog, a good dog, or a bad dog. So people are kind of the same in my view. So people sense karma. So when somebody walks into a room and they have a good karma about them, I think that the world treats them better and they get rewarded for doing good things. And so, at Johnson's, we've raised $200,000 last year for charity. And I think what goes around comes around. You get rewarded for that. I honestly, I think people do business with people that they trust, number one, and with people that have good karma and that do good in the community. And if you do good things, I think it comes right back to you. So that's one of my big roles here, is to make sure that we set an example as a company for different community outreach.
Let's go ahead and hit that little heart, mash that little heart button there for Don out here. I appreciate that, Don. I respect that, and I agree with you. I think doing good, can also be good for you, but also good for business. And I think that it's evident in the success that Johnson's has had.
Point to you. I would say that look at the good that you're doing for our industry in terms of creating a portal for people to get together and share their views and share their vision for what this industry can and should do. And you're doing that for us, Ben. So right back at you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. That was kind of the vision here, right? I mean, I think we come out here all the time and we talk about work stuff, and people tell me sometimes, Ben, it's too chatty, let's talk about more relo stuff, and I'm like, that's cool. But at the end of the day, we're trying to put food on the table for our families, right? We're trying to make our house better. We're trying to make our community better. We're trying to make our country better. And I think that it's important not to lose focus of our why. And it's easy to say, okay, let's talk about the nuts and bolts of moving. I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? But I think we need to keep it the why and the heart and the love, front and center. So I appreciate you, Don. I got a couple questions coming in here. Couple comments. First, Jamie says, agree wholeheartedly with you, Don. You get back way more when you help others. That's
Thanks,
right,
Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie's a good dude. Charlie Beatty. Hi, Ben and Don. Hey, Charlie. Libby Bland. Easter Seals truck pull is awesome. We love it here at Johnson's. Very cool. Yeah, let's see here. Jason Exley. Don, do you have any good pics of the truck pull?
I do. I just don't have them where I can stick them up in front of the camera. Maybe.
Let's see if we can't work on it. Janet, you're back there, Janet. I know. I see you backstage. Janet, is it possible that we could dig up a picture of the Johnson's Easter Seals truck pull? If it's possible, that's awesome. She's giving me the thumbs up.
Wow.
I love you, Janet. You're the best.
Man.
I want to give Janet a big old hug.
She was asking for a raise earlier, Ben.
She was? Yeah. Tell her you get, a 50% increase.
Yeah. 0 times 50 is 0.
Whatever I'm paying you, Don will double it. All right. Anka says, in terms of those employees who actually went into hospitals and medical systems to help with the equipment, was it volunteer-based from your entire organization, or how was it decided?
So it was absolutely volunteer-based. Obviously, it was paying work, right? We didn't donate our services entirely. We again provided PPE to those employees, but we didn't force anybody to do it. Honestly, I think a lot of our employees felt like they were giving back and providing service to the community and in putting themselves at risk, like our great healthcare providers have. And I was really culturally super proud of the way our team pulled together to support the healthcare initiative and to support the pivot to healthcare. We clearly did not require anybody to do anything like that. It was all comfort-based. We went, like all companies, we went flex crews. If anybody at risk didn't need to come in, and we tried to be very, very generous with our folks. And like most moving companies, we were fortunate enough to get a PPP loan, and we put it to good work. We kept everybody employed. We actually hired people, and we started training. So that's one thing the federal government did well.
Yeah, they've really, the federal government did a lot as far as stimulus, as far as through employers, PPP loans. I do have a question. So as someone who operates a large scale organization in the moving business, unemployment right now, there's you mentioned 20% unemployment, right? There's a ton of unemployment. You'd think that we would have, qualified help, coming out of our ears, right? Especially with the decrease in volumes that we're seeing. But in a lot of areas of the country, we're experiencing, in the moving business, we're experiencing labor shortages due to the fact that unemployment's been augmented at such a high rate. To give you an idea, in Michigan, I can't speak for Colorado, but in Michigan, I believe unemployment taps out at $320 a week. But then you add an additional 600 and change on top of that from the federal level, and now you're up to, what did I say, almost $900, let's say, a week. And we're getting people that are saying, gosh, Ben, love to help you move that couch, but I'm making more money sitting on the couch. Are you finding it hard to find good labor?
We are, and that the augmented unemployment benefits expire July 31st, and they're clearly not going to get renewed. But we penciled it here, and they top out at it's like $48,000 a year to not work. So it's been a little frustrating finding people. We've been fortunate. We've been recruiting like crazy, and we've continued paying sign-on bonuses and really being aggressive about recruiting, because we realized the second half of this year, peak season, let's face it, got pushed by about 60 days, right? So peak is really not starting until tomorrow here, and we're really feeling it. And so we realized we were going to need about 550 folks to move furniture this summer. So we're right about there.
What are you seeing? So that's a great point. You talk about the shift in peak, right? So what do you think? What do you prognosticate that peak season is going to look like this year?
So I think it's going to look great. I think July is going to be super difficult, but we're a gigantic military carrier, and so the military was down 70%, 70. It's our largest customer, most profitable customer, down 70% year to date through May. And Transcom announced. Now think about this: they're down 70%. Transcom announced that they want to get back to 90% of a normal year by the end of December. So if you do that math and you think about how many shipments they have to move between July 1 and the end of the year, it's kind of ridiculous. And so it's going to put strain on the rest of the industry, and the military has increased their rates. So the RMC and the national account tonnage is going to now have to compete with this military business that used to pay, relatively poorly on line haul and now is paying really well. So it's going to be hard.
Yeah, the discounts are very low, which means the prices are very high, and they tacked on an additional 10%, which is, I guess you want to call it hazard pay or whatever. And I mean, that's been a real boon,
Yeah.
And to your point, I think this is a point that we should stay on for just a second, because we have a lot of folks watching who are in the RMC community or who are global mobility managers for corporations, and they're managing large scale relocation programs. And I think that while they're great customers and we love them dearly and we value our relationships that we have, the difference in economics between a military shipment at this day and time right now at 30 of June, and a military shipment is vastly different. And with limited resources that moving companies have, you got to make a choice what shipment you're going to put on that truck, Don, and and then the COD shipments. I mean, I'm assuming y'all do a fair amount of COD work as well, just like everybody, right? Probably got, feet on the street doing COD also, right? And those shipments are paying, well too. So how do you balance that mix?
So we're not a huge national account booker. We've got some nice national accounts, but we're predominantly COD and military, and so I think for big national account bookers, it's going to be challenging to try and get wheels under those loads when they're competing against the COD and the military that's paying so well. And I tell you, with this GHC contract, which, Ben, I don't know if you heard, it got reawarded to ARC and Unigroup today.
So great point. Pause. Last night, it came out officially. We had heard rumors, but it came out officially that it was re-awarded. That was pulled back, but now it was re-awarded to ARC, American Roll-On, Roll-Off Carrier, and the team, Unigroup, which United's an agent of, Mayflower, and Atlas World Group, and Pasha, I believe.
Deloitte,
and Pasha, yeah, is the team. I've been misquoted. I've misquoted that before. It was re-awarded, the $7.2 billion contract with year options bringing it up to $20 billion, which is incredible. So thank you for bringing that up. So how does that play into the mix also?
Well, so apparently this re-award, which is a monumental thing.
Monumental. The biggest thing that's ever happened in the moving business, probably since deregulation.
Right. So it doesn't mean that it's absolutely final, but they look at it this way. Transcom could have decided to rebid the contract, and they decided not to. They reverted back to ARC and Unigroup and Atlas. So it's at least indicative that they're leaning towards sticking with that consortium, and I think they're hell bent on getting this thing rolled out in Q1 of 2021. So we'll see.
Well, there's been talk that is with the delay and the pullback and that fit and start kind of thing, that maybe there was discussion of, at first it was supposed to, I think, begin rolling out like February, March, April of 2021. And now they're like, well, maybe we want to push it to post-peak of 2021. Have you heard anything more about the timing of that?
No, so because they didn't rebid it, they're in a position, if they stay the course, to still roll out in February and March on the domestic side of 2021, and then catch the IT GBL International in the fall.
Okay. Yeah. So then what does 2021 look like then?
So interestingly, that the military, they keep talking about pushing more money to the curb and spicing the service provider and the folks that actually do the work. And so there's also discussion that it's essentially going to be prevailing wage work, which is going to just increase the rates dramatically. So it's going to be much more favorable tonnage permanently.
Talk about what a prevailing wage means for those of us who don't know.
So, I'm using the term prevailing wage. It's actually called something else in this contract, but it's essentially a union type wage. So it has to compete with the highest level of wages, and so prevailing wage varies by state, but it's going to make it pay a lot better, and rates are going to have to go up, and it's going to be more attractive tonnage. So on the RMC national account side, we're looking at this summer yeah, the military's got this 10% surcharge, et cetera. But my concern, if I were a big national account booker, is this the new normal? Are we now always going to have to compete with this military behemoth and with COD rates that are higher? And are we now going to struggle to get shipments covered? So it's just it's an unknown.
Well, and I think the answer probably theoretically is yes. The national account booker, i.e. RMC or large corporation, is going to have to compete with that because that is the market, right? You have the largest customer at 2.2 billion or 2.5 billion, I believe, was the award. The rumor that the award was. So it actually not only was some of the best paying business, be it via discount in the summer prior, but to tack on another $300 million of infused, revenue into that program. Now all of a sudden I got to think they truly do become the, by far the highest paying client base in the business. And I think that kind of is the first domino to fall here from a pricing standpoint. But I got to think that pricing domino falling with van lines, United and Atlas are the two largest national account haulers also.
Right.
And so for them to win this GHC bid, I got to think that that's a bit of a shift for a lot of those haulers, don't you think?
Yeah, it leaves those big van lines in a little bit of a conflicted position, because when they go call on their RMC accounts and their national accounts, they're going to say, well, all you care about is the military. And so I could just hear those words coming out of the RMC community. But it's going to be crazy to watch it roll out. Yeah,
it really will be. So interesting times. So between COVID, GHC, the PPE thing, I want to talk about that too, because you're putting 500 boots on the street, you mentioned, and this PPE thing. It's great what you've done in supporting the healthcare industry, but we're also working under this pandemic as well, and our guys are out there, and the military you mentioned, our large RMC clients. A lot of them have issued these memos requiring masks, requiring gloves, requiring, whatever, right? And booties in some cases. And from what I'm seeing on these driver forums, from what I'm seeing when I talk to the people who are actually out there doing the work, I'm just a guy who wears a suit every day, but they're struggling, Don. Are you hearing this?
So my two boys both work for us, and they're on the crew. One is a CDLA, regional driver for us, and one is a crew member. And, it's 95 degrees in Denver today. And we started out with these N95s, right, that everybody was talking about, the surgical mask. And you just basically can't breathe. They're so thick, and they cover your face so much that our crew members really complained. So we flipped into just the disposable blue medical masks that are free here.
Right.
Those you can breathe a lot better. And then we issue gloves to the crew members. Well, we're not doing booties. And generally what we found is it's common sense, right? So with distancing, the crew starts out in masks and gloves. And if they can talk to the customer and reason with that customer about distancing and perhaps taking a seat with the inventory in a corner of the garage where they can call out numbers, that maybe the customer feels comfortable allowing the crew to take their masks and gloves off. It's every move's different. Again, it's common sense. It's just interpersonal skills, but it's very difficult.
Yeah, do you feel like kind of when these memos kind of came out around with guidance, in late March, right, when this thing broke out? Do you, in many ways, haven't been, well, the military revised theirs somewhat and clarified theirs. At first, it came out that we had to wipe down every surface that was touched. And we're like, hello, you realize we're touching everything in the home, right? Like, we're not cleaning every stick of furniture with bleach, nor should we, right? Do you think that maybe they came out, maybe they were overly prescriptive, or maybe not as maybe not changed and modified as quickly to keep up with local guidelines?
Yeah, I think there was, again, so much uncertainty about this and so much concern and paranoia that I think there was some overreaction. And I think people a lot of customers felt the need to, pass kind of draconian policies to show the world that they've reacted. But I think in reality, a lot of those policies never got really implemented on the day-to-day. We may have started the move in full PPE, but in most cases, within 20, 30 minutes, we've isolated the customer into their own space, and our guys are doing their thing and they're working. And then at the end of the move, they're wiping down surfaces in the home.
Yeah.
I think it's just uncharted waters. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think I think you're right. I think the way you characterize is appropriate. We got some people checking in. Vinny Valverde. Hi, Don. Hope all is well with you and the Johnson family. Vinny's a former Denver guy. Trent.
Trent's our furniture guy.
Hey, Trent. How's it going, furniture guy? We're going to talk furniture here in a minute, Trent, so you stay put, all right, buddy? Robert Vespa. Hey, boys, looking good. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate you.
Robert in his photograph.
All right, Jeff says, ask Don about Barcelo and Cancun.
That's a rated PG-13 conversation. We can't have it.
Got it. All right. Tim Quirk says, hey, Don and Ben from Western New York. Let's see. Tim goes on to say, it sounds like alternative transportation is the wave of the future. Did I mention that we at North and South Logistics specialize in that? I will send you an invoice, Tim. Lynn Greenberg, hi, Don and Ben from New York. What's up, Lynn? Rory Ramirez checking in for Mini Moves in Broadview, Illinois. Hey, Rory. Yal Shaney, sounds like the COD market is the new alternative of the future, especially for international relocation. Oh, this is great. So, what do you think?
It's basically shameless salespeople. I get it.
Yeah. It said from two salespeople who are pitching themselves also. Oh, that's great.
Ben, Janet said I get to ask you questions now.
You may ask me a question.
So here's the questions that everyone on this show wants to know the answers to. So, number one, when you do these shows, are you wearing pants?
That is a game time decision, and today I'm glad to say yes, I am compliant.
Okay, that makes me feel better. Okay. Second one is how on earth do you come up with the time to put on this show and still do your regular day job? So something's got to give, and I do the show daily. So that should answer that question. I think. First of all, what's interesting about doing this? If I woke up every day and I asked myself, am I going to do this today? The answer probably 75% of the time would be no. But because I sign up for it in advance and I know there's people depending on me, I'm like, oh shit, I pull it together, and we do it, right? And then as far as, it takes a lot of time, and thank God for Janet Turner. I love that woman. She's my, my partner in crime, and she keeps me on top of things and keeps it organized. And I'll be honest, I don't spend as much time on my day job as I probably should. I think that's something I definitely need to focus on, and I need to come up with some time management. But I just feel called to be doing this right now, and so I do it and let the chips fall where they may. That's cool. Well, we're grateful that you do it. Let me ask one more question, which is, have you ever tried to figure out how much business this brings to your company because you've become so visible and the mouthpiece of the industry?
It's interesting. We've brought on some new clients. We've lost some clients, not through this show, but I mean, just, as things happen. People ask me all the time, does this get you business? And honestly, I don't know the answer. I'd like to think it does, but no, I've not calculated the ROI on it. I think that if I started thinking about that, I think that I would lose my motivation because it would not be instantly apparent. No, I don't get a lot of business, probably because I don't ask for it. I think a lot of people know who I am, and if I call people and I ask them, hey, can we talk about moving? I think a lot of people would take my phone call. I think I just need to be making those phone calls more often. So, hey, if you're watching this right now and you got some moves and Don can't service them, give me a call, and maybe maybe I can help you out with that. I'd really appreciate it. So no, I haven't, Don. I probably ought to focus on that at some point.
And you just asked for the order, so I think you just accomplished, mission
yeah, I just asked 30 people for the order. The problem is half of them work at Johnson, so I don't know. I don't know how far that's going to get me, man. But hey, I got a question for you. All right. So you're talking about doing the, supporting healthcare. But I've also seen some of your pressers and everything, and you're also in this return to office. You're in this return to office movement, line of services. What does that mean? What types of services are companies buying? What are you seeing in that space?
Yeah, so that's the other side of our business. That's the commercial logistics O&I side of our business, which is a big part of our business. And so that piece was really logical to pivot quickly. And so return to office, this RTO movement, really has to do with helping employees feel comfortable going back into these big office buildings. So we started a commercial wipe down service that does disinfectant wipe downs of keyboards, mouse, desk surfaces. We go in and fog office buildings and make sure that they're safe for employees to come back. And then we leave a little sign on the workstation that says this workstation has been sanitized. It's like that Saturday Night Live skit, sanitized for your protection. So that wipe down service is a pivot for us. That's new. And then reconfiguring office buildings, spacing, putting up partitions, increasing the height between workstations. All those things are the common sense things that big companies are going to have to do to bring people back into the office. So these were just kind of natural things that we thought of. But the RTO business has been good. We're doing a lot of it.
What types of different furniture configurations are you seeing? I mean, a lot of people that are watching this right now are working from home, and they might work for big companies that are looking at investing in new configurations. And what might the office of 2021 look like?
Yeah. So briefly, this for way too long, and of course Trent Harris is freaking out here. He's waving his hands, going, "Let me answer." So, sorry, Trent, you're on mute. So, what we're seeing is, the movement had been to open office and benching. They call it benching, right? Where you've got big, long, collaborative tables and collaborative kind of open workspaces, where the whole idea was to not have walls, to have people in a very open place where they're sitting close together, collaborating. And what's ironic is this whole thing has done a 180 on that. And now we're seeing people saying, look, we can't be like that. We have to have partitions. We got to have walls. We have to have height extenders. And so offices are just going to be different. And then the other thing, obviously, we're seeing is a big work from home initiative. So we set up a business that just helps companies set up home offices for their employees to make them productive and efficient. So it's weird. I don't know. It's a really strange environment.
I mean, all these businesses that you stand up all make a ton of sense, right? It's the kind of stuff that people, sit in strategy sessions and come up with these ideas that make a lot of sense. And I've sat in these strategy sessions and I've come up with these wild ideas, but I can never find anybody to buy the service. Like, how do you find somebody to say, you know what, we're going to use Johnson's to establish work from home offices for all of our people, how do you even go to market with that?
So like anything else as salespeople, it's all the pre-existing relationships that you already had going into this wild thing. And so we were already the preferred guy for Jones Lang LaSalle and Cushman and Wakefield, CBRE. And so all these big commercial real estate companies that manage huge offices for Fortune 500 companies were starved for solutions. And their clients were going to them freaking out saying, I got 20,000 people that have to come back to the office. I have no idea how to do it. So they obviously just reached out to us and said, can you help us consult and provide the muscle and the intellectual capital to make this stuff happen? So it's really all relationships, and just like our healthcare clients called on us to help with medical equipment. If you don't have relationships, then nothing happens, right, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, relationships are key, and if you can call on people and have real candid conversations about, hey, what are you looking for? I'm looking to provide something. I'm looking to pivot. What is your need? I think those trusted partnerships, those honest conversations with people. Yeah, I think that's so key.
And we changed our vernacular. We changed the way that we talk to our customers. And instead of saying, can I sell you this move? We did a lot more language like, can I I help you with these challenges? And can I want to listen to your needs today, and we want to help you solve the problems that you're facing right now. And so it's kind of just a different way to communicate that makes people let their guard down and realize, okay, this guy's not just trying to sell me a move or sell me labor. He actually is trying to help me solve my problems. And unfortunately, these real estate people have a lot of problems right now.
How do you stay in front of your customers right now in COVID, right? You're kicking off these new business lines, you're trying to get aggressive and pivot, but how do you stay in front of those customers and those relationships?
So we've obviously done a lot of the Zoom. We had ironically just embraced Zoom technology right before this thing hit. And so we've leveraged that, but honestly, everyone I think is struggling from Zoom fatigue right now. And people are starved for interaction. So we're starting to get face-to-face in front of clients with distancing. And we're not giving them big hugs, but we are doing some elbow work, and we're doing breakfast meetings, and we're doing kind of selective lunch meetings and things, and then we're getting back into their facilities too, because their facilities are opening kind of modified scale. So it was pretty hard, but I was proud of our team. Our sales team did a really nice job in that 60-day period where we were pretty shut down. They did a really great job of communicating virtually with their customers. And so it's good to see. This
one's for all the people watching, especially the Johnson folks. Are you tired of Zoom meetings yet? Okay, leave it in the comments. Nothing will be held, nothing you say or do on Love and Relo will be held against you. That is the trust bubble that we are in right now.
So if you're asking the Johnson people, all you have to ask them is, are you sick of seeing Don on video yet?
And if so, why did you tune in today? Leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Zoom fatigue.
What's the names of the people that say they're sick of me?
But you know what's interesting? I was thinking about the Zoom fatigue, right? Because I'm having friends that are posting this on Facebook. Oh my gosh, another Zoom meeting, I'm going to die, right? And I'm thinking it's funny because we're human beings, just like we were 5 years ago, 5 months ago, 5 years ago, whatever. And it used to be death by meeting, right? And I think Zoom fatigue is the same as if you had 8 meetings in a day, you'd feel the same way as if you had 8 Zoom meetings in a day. Basically, it's going in front of people, having to be conscious of the way you look, sitting up straight, sucking the gut, don't pick your nose, all those things that are going through your brain, right? For 8 hours a day that you don't normally have to think about when you're in your office, right? And I think that's the same death by meeting that we felt back in the 80s and the 90s. So I think that it's the same thing. It's just a different platform. What are your thoughts?
So I think the difference is with a Zoom meeting, you can hit the button that says turn the camera off, and then you can pick your nose.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's so funny. Let's see here. We got some folks chiming in here. Definitely Mena from Dubai. Hey, Mena, definitely I'm a hugging person. We forget to be a human being. Jennifer Anderson, great conversation. Thanks for sharing, Don. Another great show, Ben. Well done. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Wow, this has been a great one. This is a lot of fun here. I wanted to before we wrap, Don, and I really appreciate you being so candid with us and talking about things. I wanted to see if we could pull up this picture here of the Easter Seals truck pull here. So just bear with me as we get this going here. I think Janet did a great job of finding this here. There it is. Is that it right there?
Yeah, so that's our sales team, a bunch of our salespeople from Denver pulling that truck, which appears to be leaning, which is disturbing. So I'm going to figure it out. And then we got one of our old timers. So there's teams of 10, and it's like a tug of war with a 40,000 pound truck, and we time it. So we time it, and then we do heats. So we typically have 10 teams at $1,000 a team, and and then you can see one of our old timers, one of our antique trucks in the photograph. That's a 1953 International that was part of the Johnson fleet in the 50s. It still runs.
Oh, nice. See, I'm thinking this whole time you're talking about the people that are pulling the truck. And I'm like, well, that's kind of rude, Don. But no, you're talking about the truck itself. Okay.
Dr. Warren, the last guy, he's like a 1953 guy.
There you go. There you go. That's great, though. That's really wonderful. Oh yeah, look at the ones on the left there too. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. I love it. I love pictures of old trucks. That's when you know you're like a mover, when you just, you really love old truck pictures.
Exactly.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's see here. We got a comment here before we wrap. We got a couple of comments. Chandra said, not yet tired of Zoom meetings. Actually, Zoom is the new way for doing the future business meeting. We can do the meeting around the world fast and cheap. Yeah, interesting. Rory says I could pull one of those by myself. Rory, stop playing. You work at a desk now, man. Rory's like glory days mover back in the day. He talks about how tough he is, back in the day. Rory, come on, man. Just kidding, Rory. Love you, man. That's for calling me a big teddy bear. Anyway, Don, this has been wonderful. Before we wrap, I appreciate your candor and being with us today. But I wanted to ask you for just some closing thoughts before we wrap. Don, floor is yours. You got anything you want to share with folks?
Just to, I think in these times particularly, it's really important that we're compassionate and that we care for each other and we treat each other with dignity and respect. And everybody's pretty stressed out right now with the protests and with all the different things going on in the news, and now with apparently a resurgence of this virus. So these times, I think, more than anything else, require a heightened degree of compassion and love for each other. And I'm proud of our team and the way they've pulled together. And I think as an industry, we just need to do the same thing. So Ben, we're here for you, and we thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Don. And I echo Don's sentiments about being empathetic, and meeting people where they are. And people are going through a lot right now, and just trying to understand and listen and be empathetic and assuming positive intent. Thank you, Don, so much. Thank you, everybody who chimed in today and asked all the questions. Thanks to the Johnson family out there in Centennial. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Tomorrow, we've got a great episode of Love Relo. We are doing a panel on the U.S. Visa suspension. We've got Chuck White from IAM. We've got Becky Woods from ADP. We've got Stephen McGarry from WPP. And we've got Samir Kedekar, founder of Banyan Labs, which is an immigration firm in Palo Alto, talking about the impact of the suspension of the U.S. visas through the end of the year. This has been wonderful. Don, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
And thank you, man.
Take care, everybody.